D196, Principles of Financial and Managerial Accounting. Let's talk about it.
Dear me, 3 to 6 months. Watch how I make you proud.
Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Xavier. This is Tech Xavier, where I share my journey in tech. I am a recent WGU graduate with a Bachelor's of Science in IT Management. And with the help of the internet, my enrollment counselor, my program mentor, and just my need to get a degree, I was able to accelerate through the program and graduate in about 3.5 months. My start date was on November 1st, 2022, and I completed my program, my last class, on February 16th, 2023. In today's video, I'm going to discuss principles of managerial and financial accounting, course D196. And in particular, we're going to talk about what are the principles of financial managerial accounting, what are the course requirements, how is this relevant to IT management, and most importantly, how do you pass the objective assessment or the proctored exam? So let's begin. Okay, so this course is a 3-unit course, and in order to pass the course, you need to complete what's called an objective assessment. The objective assessment is approximately 56 questions long, and you have 3 hours to complete the exam. It is proctored, and it's going to be proctored by a third-party company, so you'll need to have the correct setup using Zoom, and you'll need an external webcam so that they can see you from either the right or left side. And before we explore the course page, let's talk about what are principles of financial and managerial accounting. So first off, what is accounting? Well, accounting is a system used to basically track financial records in a company or an organization. And in this course, you'll learn 2 main things. Number one, you're going to learn how to interpret financial statements, record financial transactions, and analyze financial data. And then you're also going to learn about specifically managerial accounting, which is used to do all those things, but with the operations in mind. So you're using that information to make guided decisions in support of your general operations as a manager. Now, how is this related to IT management specifically? Great question. Now, financial and managerial accounting is really valuable to an IT manager for 3 reasons. 1, for budgeting, 2, for performance measurements, and 3, for compliance. So in terms of budgeting, you want to be able to basically track expenses and costs and forecast budgets for software, hardware, things in your infrastructure environment. In terms of performance measurement, you can basically track the return on investment for a piece of software that you purchased. You know, what is the uptime? What is the downtime? Are we losing money? Is this thing even worth the costs that we spent on? And is there a better item out there that we can purchase? And the most important one, I think, well, they're all important, but one that really gets companies in trouble is compliance. So if you've heard of things like GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, then what happens is companies need to remain in compliance with a certain standard. So maybe it's, the PCI DSS, that's the payment card industry, and or it could be HIPAA, which is around like medical records. If you fall out of compliance with either of those 2 regulatory boards, then or regulatory organizations, then you can face some pretty hefty fines that can be up into the hundreds of thousands or millions, or maybe even more. So really important to think about those costs as an IT manager. Okay, so now that we've gotten all that out the way, let's go ahead and look into our student portal and see what the course looks like on the back end. Okay, so here we are at the Principles of Financial and Managerial Accounting course page. If you're not sure, just look above here and look for that information to confirm you're in the right place. Really quick, you can see your name, there's an email, announcements, and then these are some other navigation areas if you want to get back to any of these sections. There's also a place for course feedback, so you can give feedback about the course. And let's go through the page. So you can see the date that you started. So I started on November 1st. This was the first course that I took because, not to gonna lie, I was a little scared of accounting and I just wanted to get that out the way. You can see an overview of the course. You can see the competencies. So these are the areas that you will be learning about and the areas that you want to get strong in so that you can pass the objective assessment. Also, you have a course planning tool, which we'll talk about later. There's some learning information, including the course material. And you can think of this as the textbook. There is a section for the cohort sign up, so you can explore the cohort offerings. And these are like live, maybe webinars or pre-recorded videos that help you understand more about the course and give you some context about what accounting is, best ways to study, and just ways to be successful with the course. On the right side here, you have the instructor field. And if you open this up, it'll show you the instructor's email. If the course is active, it'll show you their phone number and their office hours. Then you can see the announcements. The announcements section is specific to the course, and it will have different bits of information. As you can see, there's an update here on February 19th, and it's a welcome video. And then you can also see course tips. We'll look at this to explore like the course resource page. There's the course search, course chatter, and if we go down, you'll see assessment information, including the pre-assessment, which is here, the objective assessment, and then additional course information that you can explore. Okay, so we're going to take a look next at the course materials and course resources page. So in order to access the course resources page, I find that the easiest way to do so is by clicking either on the announcements or course tips and looking for one of these kind of paragraphs. If you see more, then it'll likely bring up a pop-up page that looks like this. And these are some course tips. And on the course tips page, you generally find something that says course resource page, which is here. So let's go ahead and open that up. And here on the course resource page, we won't go through all these. You can read it for yourself when you get here. But in general, they have a welcome video and My Educator. And what My Educator is basically it's a program that hosts the course material. So that's like the textbook. In addition, they have some built-in activities that you can use with Microsoft Excel. And what happens is you basically go to Microsoft Excel, you create an add-in, or you add on the My Educator add-on. And then when you do so, it runs certain activities. It gives you a certain code. You run the add-on, and then you're able to take the activities or take the assessments in Microsoft Excel. So it's pretty cool. They have live event recordings and materials. They have the My Educator navigation cohort reading or recording. They have a study guide, course-specific Excel practice or refresher, course instructor contact information, and then additional resources. So this is a really good page for you to find. I like to go through this, especially for courses that I have no clue what they're talking about. This gives me a nice pacing guide on terms of how I can go through the course and be successful. The second thing that we're going to look at is the course material. So if I click here on Go to Course Material, it's going to open up a new page. And here we get to the title page of the textbook. So the textbook, or the course material, however you want to call it, is D196 Principles of Financial and Managerial Accounting. You could start and open the course material here. They talk about the course, the authors and contributors. So if you want to follow other accountants or other experts, you can do so. And then features of the course. For now, we'll just look at the units here. So these units are the ones that are in alignment with the competencies that we saw on the course homepage. So these will be good guides and good material for you to go over as you're studying. And later in the video, we'll do a deep dive on the textbook because there's some really cool strategies for how to go through it without having to do a lot of reading, and just some ways to kind of prime your brain for learning. Okay, so in addition to WGU's resources, which I believe they have a really large amount of, you can also use two external resources that I always go to. The first one is Quizlet and the other one is Reddit. I'll go ahead and show you really quick what these pages look like if you haven't used them before, and I'll post links in the description for you to jump to these areas and kind of explore the resources page on your own. Okay, so the first resource is Quizlet, and this is actually Quizlet Plus. So they have a free account and they also have a pro account. The free account, basically the website has a lot of advertisements on it and you're a little limited in what you can use. The Plus account, you can get full access to the application, and you can do flashcards, you can do games, you can do set up tests based off of terms. It's really cool. But nonetheless, this is a link to just what I found when I searched D196. This came up. And as you can see, these are all results. You can look at study sets, which are kind of like flashcards. You can look at textbooks that people have reviewed or that you can access. There are questions that people ask. You can look it up by user if you follow someone in particular. And then they have classes and then courses. So you can look it up however you like to. All results generally works for me, but this is a great resource for you to use. I'll go ahead and drop the link to this here. And if you want to use the Quizlet Plus, I'll drop an affiliate link if you want to sign up through my link so that you can help support the channel. The second additional resource is Reddit. And I have to say that when I first started going through WGU and actually planning for WGU, I was scouring Reddit all day and all night. I learned about it through Josh Madakor. He's another YouTuber who's gone through WGU. You could check out his channel as well. But Reddit has a lot of really valuable resources that I highly, highly recommend. This is a link to a post about how someone passed D196. You can pause this and read it if you like, but you'll see a lot of responses and other feedback from other users on Reddit. This is a really good resource. Definitely do not sleep on it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to prepare for the objective assessment. This is the main reason I'm sure you're here. So the first thing I want to mention or advise you to do is just schedule the assessment now. So what I generally do is I schedule the assessment either a week or 2 weeks out, depending on how comfortable I feel with the course material or how comfortable I think I feel with the course material. It does vary, but either way, you should definitely schedule the exam now, and that'll put a little bit of pressure and give you a little bit of a push to be more diligent with your studies, be more efficient with your time, and really show up and get the most out of each study session. And once you've gone ahead and scheduled your exam at least 2 weeks out, next thing we're going to do is I want you to take the course planning tool. So if you haven't done this already, this is a great tool. It basically assesses how competent you are in a certain area. And it's like a pre-assessment. So it's not very many questions, but each question or at the end of these questions comes like a little survey, and the survey is going to ask you, do you not know the information? Are you somewhat familiar with it? Or are you really familiar with it? And then it'll give you a little report at the end, which will basically assess how well you did. Now, after you finish the course planning tool, then I recommend moving on to the pre-assessment. So remember, at this stage, we haven't read anything. We haven't gone through any course materials. We're just taking exams and priming our brain that way, just kind of getting exposed to the information. And I do this because you'll be surprised how much you actually know. If you have work experience in IT, or if you have work experience as a manager or a supervisor, that some of these concepts may not be as foreign as you think. So I recommend taking the pre-assessment. It is a total, I think, of 56 questions as well, or maybe more. And once you take it, then you can get a pre-assessment report. Unfortunately, on my end, it's not going to show the full report, but I can at least show you what it would look like we can imagine together. So click on the pre-assessment. And then once you click here, you'll see a report like this. So it'll show when you attempted the pre-assessment. And then everything to the left of this kind of dark gray line here is going to mean that you need to retake or revisit the information in the chapters in the course material, which we'll look at later. Anything to the right of here means that you're either competent. So like where my cursor is, this is like the competent range. And then beyond that, you have exemplary. And these are how the colors look like. So exemplary is blue. That means you really have mastery of the concept. Competent is green. That means you check the box enough to pass. Like they say, C's get degrees. And then you have appropriate competence, approaching. So do over. The next one you have is approaching competence. And this means that you scored relatively close to competence, but you just missed a couple of them here or there. And then unsatisfactory means you need to really hit the books again, or maybe you just didn't answer a question or enough questions. You might have just given up early. And so basically you resulted in an unsatisfactory score. So now that we have completed the course planning tool and the pre-assessment, then we're going to move on to the course material. So here, when we reach the course material page, we're going to do what I like to call priming. And I learned this from another YouTuber, and I can't remember the guy's name, but essentially this is a way of skimming, but asking yourself important questions about what you're reviewing. So this is like looking at the table of contents, reading what the unit is about or what the module is about and what the lesson is about, and asking yourself questions about that material. So for example, when you get to this page here, you can click on the contents area here. And then once this drops down, with the exception of unit 1, because this is really just a strategy unit on how to study for the course, you can go to like unit 2 and you're going to look at the higher level unit title, which says the role and purpose of accounting. And then you want to think about everything that this unit is going to cover. So, okay, I know what a role is, and I know, purpose means, what the intent of accounting is. Accounting is a financial system or a way of tracking it. So what is the role of this in an organization? Maybe it's going to talk about what the role is for a manager. You can kind of interpret what's going to come up. And when you expand this, then you can see, okay, there are 2 modules. So accounting information and, oh, I didn't know there was an accounting cycle. I wonder what this is. And as you think about the accounting cycle, well, a cycle means something is repeatable. It happens all the time. And maybe this is something that applies to all organizations. Maybe it applies just to IT organizations, but you can decide or make inferences about the information. And then let's say you go one level deeper than that. Now you can look at the lessons that are provided in the module and just kind of ask yourself questions about what this could mean in the broader sense of the lesson or the module or the unit as a whole. Now, mind you, at this point, we've still done very little reading, with the exception of the pre-assessment and the course planning tool and just some skimming. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into what's called the knowledge checks, the module quizzes, and the unit exams for the course material. And the way we do that is we click on course here on the top, and then you just click on assessments. And this is going to look a little different for you depending on if you've actually taken any assessments. But essentially the way this page is broken up, you have unit level assessments. So unit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you have module assessments. And these are, I think, are modules 3 through 10, I believe. And this shows up, I believe, in the order in which you actually took the modules. So what I recommend doing first here is simply going through the unit tests, going through all of them, and just going through them enough times until you start to memorize some of the concepts, see what you got wrong, and achieve 100% passing score. This is the way that helped me. I kind of it reinforces learning for me, and I don't have to spend time reading and then doing this again as well. So I do the unit 2 test all the way down to unit 7. There are 3 different versions of these tests. So once you take the test the first time, it's going to present one set of questions. You take it again for the second time, it'll be a second set, and then a third set. And I want to achieve 100% on each of those in order to really get a good grasp of the concept. Now, do as I say, not as I did. As you can see here, I didn't do that for all of these, but as I went through other courses, this became a really easy approach for me. And it was better than what I was doing in the past, which was trying to recreate questions on like a Google quiz spreadsheet Google quiz or a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. This is a much easier way for me. So you go through unit 2 and then you scale down in terms of your exam exposure. And then you're going to go down to the modules. So you're going to do module 1 quiz, module 2, module 3. And then lastly, you're going to do the learning checks if you still need more reinforcement. And if you need reinforcement beyond any of these, but you still don't want to do a lot of reading, you can listen to the cohort recordings. They give you a lot of good context. And my favorite one, and this is probably the only book that I really enjoyed the recordings in, is the recordings from the authors of this book or the featured experts. So for example, these two gentlemen are brothers. I forgot their names, but they, these guys here, they do little vignettes throughout the course. And this guy in particular, the guy with the flower print shirt, man, he this guy makes you laugh. I don't know what it is. He's like this East Coast guy that has this really interesting flair about him or demeanor. And I don't know, just stuff kind of cracks me up the way he kind of presents information. So it was entertaining to say the least, but it was actually some really informing or some really valuable information that I got from his videos. And that just gave me more context for areas that I wasn't quite sure of. So there are certain terms, especially when you look at like the ethics of accounting, that he really goes over pretty well. All right, the last and final step before you actually take the objective assessment is to take the pre-assessment again and take it until you finally get a passing score. Take it until you finally understand the concepts and that you're ready to go. And once you're done with that, then you should be ready for the objective assessment. And you'd be surprised, you might find yourself ready to take this sooner than you thought. So, you know, just when you're ready, when you feel like you've gone through all this material and you've seen it so many times, it'll probably become second nature. And regardless of how the test is worded, you should be able to pass it. The other thing I'm going to mention is that these two exams, as a reminder, are hosted on Excel, and you had to use the add-on, the My Educator add-on, to actually participate in the exams for each of these. And what I will say is that they're pretty similar. So if you have a decent knowledge of Excel, then go ahead and jump right into it. If you're not as good with Excel and you need more practice, there is an Intro to Spreadsheets course, which I'll talk about in another video, but that might be your best bet to start. Okay, so that wraps up today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope that these tips are helpful to you. Some of these things are things that I wish I would have done to go a little bit faster in some courses. Some of these things are things that I actually did and that, you know, actually proved helpful. So take this with a grain of salt. You know, everybody has their own process, and do what's comfortable for you. But ultimately, I want to see that you graduate, that you can accelerate, and you can get back into the job market or get into the job market with your new degree and have more of that attractive and be more attractive on paper for employers who are looking to hire. My name is Xavier. This is Tech Xavier, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.
Dear me, 3 to 6 months. Watch how I make you proud.